Good morning. Welcome to a discussion on Mahatma Gandhi's view on women. This discussion relates to our MA program. बंद कर देगा। Good morning. Welcome to a discussion on Gandhi's view on women. Today's discussion relates to our master's program in Gandhian and peace studies. Let us specifically talk about Gandhi's view on women. As we know, Mahatma Gandhi himself was a humanist, he was an universalist, he was also an empiricist. As a universalist, he was trying to position up each and every social categories, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, women, the religious minorities, linguistic communities, in a very universalistic way, in what way they can be emancipated in the contemporary world. As an idealist, he was also trying to develop a kind of an ideal framework what the world would be and how these social categories will be posited there vis-a-vis the other kind of other social categories. As an empiricist, he was trying to know what are the basic causes, the fundamental causes, the realities of their subordination, their social exclusion, their secondary social status, etc. in the society. So as an empiricist, he was trying to know how the social categories are located in the societies. So to be an humanist, to be an universalist, it is important that somebody should know the empirical reality, the grassroots realities of the society. So when we talk about the Gandhi's view of women, Mahatma Gandhi tried to see the woman's position in the society through that three interrelated lenses: as an universalist, as an humanist, as an idealist, and also as an empiricist. When we talk about women in Indian society, we usually talk about the subordinate position of women in Indian society and who have been excluded from varieties of the indicators of status mobility in the society. When we talk about the status indicator, we talk about women's access to education, the productive resources, participation in the decision-making processes, participation in the judiciary, in the administrative activities, and also varieties of the choices which somebody can exercise to have an upward social mobility. So Gandhi was looking after that is whether in what way women were subordinated in Indian society, how they are excluded, how they have got a secondary status. So by doing so, he was trying to locate the woman's status in Indian society within the interlinked and acting social arrangement within which women have got this subordinated social position. So what he has tried to do, he has tried to locate the woman's position within the given institutional arrangement in the society, that is within the varieties of the social processes and practice, the caste order, the religion, the morality, the institution of marriage, the divorce, and also simultaneously looked into women's position within the political arrangement of the society. So what we will try to see, that is how Mahatma Gandhi first tried to understand why women have got a subordinate position in Indian society. What Mahatma Gandhi has tried to narrate, that is, he was narrating about the woman's position, and he was of this position that man and woman are fundamentally, they are endowed with enormous potential of human well-being, and all this they have got the equal potential to contribute to the human well-being and the human development. So what he has told, the soul of both those physical entities are the same, because they're part of this universality, they're part of this whole universe, and the soul are the same. And Gandhi also recognized that women are made subordinate to the man within this given arrangement, even though their soul are the same, but they have got a subordinate position in the society with the varieties of the social practices. And he talks about somehow or other that women are made since aged subordinate to women, and how it had been made. He's talking about a process of societal arrangement and the practices through which women have been inculcated certain values and certain role where they have been filled and they have been made to feel that they're subordinate to men in the society. So what it is talking about, a process of hegemonization, a process of internalization of certain values and norms and customs of the society through which women are made to feel they are the subordinate citizens, subordinate members of the society. So how it happens? It happens in that way. There is subordination in the society. Subordination usually comes in, especially in relation to the power. Power is one's capacity to impose one will on other. It may or may not be with some resistance. So power is a capacity to influence others or dominate others. When the power becomes legitimized, it's become an authority, because it is through authoritative. It may be traditional authority, like the father is imposing his will on the children. Okay, these are the things to be done. And so this is a kind of a traditional authority. There may be the rational legal authority through some institutional arrangement. That is a varieties of the institutional arrangement wherein those who are in the higher authority, they usually exercise their control on the subordinate staff member of the institution. So this is the kind of a rational legal authority through which somebody controls, somebody exercises his or her power. The third important power is that when that power and authority get internalized through the values and norms, what happened in the process? The element of resistance, element of dissent get neutralized. So there is a process of hegemonization, a cultural encoding through which people don't feel like that these are the arrangement which are to be changed or resisted. Rather, these are considered certain arrangement of the society. They are part of it. It may so happen that is a group of the people may accept that subordination as an element of glorifying one position in the society. So what Mahatma Gandhi was talking about, a process of internalizing and inculcating certain values and norms in the society through which women are made to accept the subordination in the society in this male-dominated world. So what he talks about, that is, what are the impact? The impact of those prolonged hegemonization. He talked about the psyche of our girl is ruined through this false modesty, because girls are socialized to be the modest in the society, to docile, to be inward looking. So in that way, what it ruins the varieties of those possibilities, that is ruined. And he talks about, we forget that girls of today are the mothers of tomorrow, because if that self-esteem is destroyed or negated, there is a negative impact of those kind of inculcation of culture values in the society. There is every possibility that a full-grown personality will not take place with the whole sense of assertion and aspiration in the society. He also goes on further to talk about at a tender and critical stage, her development, at a very tender and critical stage of her development, when she needs mother's understanding, love and guidance the most, she is given stepmotherly treatment, as if she has sinned against the society in growing up and must need to be suppressed and controlled. So what is happened, that is, whatsoever the liberal atmosphere in which a girl is to be nurtured, it is not. Rather, she is conditioned by varieties of the traditional role expectation, gender role stereotyping, within which women are made to accept certain traditional norms and values, and that squeezes the possibility of her mobility in the society. And ultimately what happened? She's made a victim. She is made a victim of time-bound varieties of the social rules and convention, and she can usually, you will find that outdoor exercises, she is withdrawn and she can stare out, she can go out. So ultimately what Mahatma Gandhi is talking about, it is the traditional norms, values and customs and traditional role expectation that condition and circumscribe women and the girl in the society, that ruins the development of their personality. But what Mahatma Gandhi is talking about, that is, but the men and women are not posited in a contradictory role. They are posited with varieties of complementary role in the society. And when he talks about that, there is no doubt that at some point of time, there is certain bifurcation between man and woman. Those are but natural, he has accepted it. The duty of motherhood, he has given an example. The motherhood duty, the child caring duty, it is traditionally endowed to women, and that requires special kind of qualities that can be given only by mother to the child. So she's passive. She's passive in her role, and she's essentially a mistress of the house. That is a kind of a traditional role Mahatma Gandhi is talking about. It is in terms of the complementarity of the role. He is also simultaneously talking about what's the role, that is, a man is the breadwinner. However, a man may be the breadwinner, but he is not the master of woman. A man, even being a breadwinner, he can be the housekeeper. It is the housekeeper is the woman. She is the distributor of the bread. She is the caretaker of the children. So this is the art of upbringing the children lies with women. So what Mahatma Gandhi was talking about in terms of the gender-defined role in the society, in terms of complementarity, not in terms of contradiction. Keep in mind what Mahatma Gandhi is talking about. These are complementaries, the complementary role, and even man may be the breadwinner, but he not the master of the destiny or master of woman in both in the household and outside. So if it happens ultimately, what is talking about, over a period of time, man has started feeling that they're the masters, of the house, they're the controller of women, they're having every right to subordinate women in the society. So in his opinion, it is degrading both for men and women, that women should be called upon and to be reduced for the sake of the hearth, for the sake of the maintenance of the household. Yes, there is certain gender-specific role. Mahatma Gandhi accepts that. But that should not reduce the woman's position only within the four walls of the house, and that should not take away all the possibilities of the choices and upward mobility of women in the society. If it happens, what he talks about, that will be the acceptance of barbarity on the civilization and the beginning of the end of human civilization. In trying to write what he's talking about, in trying to write about the civilization, the practice of subordination of women will bring the whole civilization crash to the earth. So what is important, that space for liberalization of women should be made within the whole understanding of men-woman relationship within the society. And what he talks about, and I quote, the sin will be on man's head for tempting and compelling his companion to desert her in this special calling. Because whatsoever the special calling he is talking about in terms of this household upbringing of the children and also the emotional care of the children, but it should not circumscribe her only within that role. There should be space of liberation of for the woman in the society. The division of the sphere of woman is recognized. The general qualities and culture are required to be practically the same for both the sexes. So what he is talking about, the division of labor within the household, it is there, it is to be there. But it hardly means one work is to be considered to be inferior, another to be superior. If somebody is the breadwinner, it hardly means he is the controller, he is the dominant character of the household. There is also a distributor of the house, the caretaker of the house, and the whole role woman takes for the upbringing of the children, that is to be recognized as a kind of divine role on this earth. At this point, how Mahatma Gandhi has been able to inculcate those kind of ideals about women. Mahatma Gandhi widely acknowledged that he was widely influenced by the lifestyle and activities of his mother and his wife. His mother was a very pious woman. She was a devotee to God and having immense determination simultaneously to undertake varieties of those initiative and activities. And her behavior widely influenced Mahatma Gandhi. Her steadfast devotion to God and simultaneously household duties impressed him very thoroughly. That is, a woman he is devoted to God and simultaneously she was quite engaged with the household activities. And he recollected in his autography that she would have taken the hardest vow, the hardest promise to keep them without any outside influence. So what he was trying to mention here, that his mother's role, mother's pious behavior, a kind of a divine quality, devotion to God, simultaneously taking care of the household with the firm determination influenced Mahatma Gandhi the most. His wife, as you know, that Mahatma Gandhi got married at a very early age, but he accepted that there will be several of his follies, those are as a husband, and those are accepted by his wife Kasturba. And Kasturba played a very important role both personally and professionally in Mahatma Gandhi's life. And Kasturba was a very courageous, as Mahatma Gandhi accepted, and she was very determined and displayed enormous patience towards the activities of Mahatma Gandhi. So these two women widely influenced Mahatma Gandhi's outlook about women, to look into the whole ideal of women in society. As I told, Mahatma Gandhi looked into the women folk in terms of the whole element of universality and humanity on the one hand, idealism on the other, and the empiricism that is the grassroots, that is the total realities. What he talks about, that is how was the influence of his mother on Mahatma Gandhi's life. Even as a child, Mahatma Gandhi writes that she was independent in her thinking and action, which surprised and also to an extent annoyed Gandhi as a young husband and eager to establish his authority over his wife. As he told that he was having a lot of follies, lot of shortcomings as a husband. He was a young husband, but he found simultaneously his wife was quite determined, and she was fearless in expressing the authoritative behavior of her husband. So that is the kind of appreciation for his wife, that is trying to know from within, trying to know from the surroundings, trying to know from the friend, philosopher and guide of one's life. That was his wife, Mahatma Gandhi's wife. Kasturba Gandhi influenced Mahatma Gandhi the most. And Kasturba displayed a great resolve of Satyagraha simultaneously. With Mahatma Gandhi resolve for Satyagraha, Kasturba played a big role. Not only supporting Mahatma Gandhi, also she came in the forefront to organize women. And she would resist the undue demand of her husband with firm resolve and in a very non-violent manner, while at the same time doing her duties without a fail. So a combination of two kinds of duties, a kind of a commitment for the Satyagraha is for the national cause, for the cause of humanity. Simultaneously, she was firm to point out the limitations of her husband, but those pointing out those limitations, she was always making in a very non-violent manner. So that is quite interesting, that how the whole ideology was framed in the mind of Mahatma Gandhi with the influence of his wife. And when he also talked about that is Kasturba Gandhi proved to be an active Satyagrahi, and she was fighting the mighty British power along with the thousands of people in their fight for freedom of the nation. So that is when the wife come to the forefront. Mahatma Gandhi also get a lot of encouragement to know various practicalities of the life, the how something can be communicated, even not being violent, and also simultaneously something can be resisted even to the close people in a very firm order. So Mahatma Gandhi was widely influenced with the life, action and activities of his wife, and also the lifestyle of his mother. So Mahatma Gandhi, when he has looked into all those, Mahatma Gandhi tried to look into that is how women are located in the society, what are the causes of their subordination with the given culture, values and norm of the society. Mahatma Gandhi has also tried to see how women can be the epitome of non-violence, as he has seen the practice of non-violence in the activities of his wife. And he looked into the wider world and tried to see that woman is the true incarnation of ahimsa. Because the whole ahimsa has come from Buddhism. Mahatma Gandhi found that the whole non-violence is widely inbuilt, the whole personality and persona of woman. So he considered the woman as the epitome of ahimsa. To him, the realities of life are to be conditioned and the practice of ahimsa. If the realities of the life are to be conditioned with the practice of ahimsa, it is the women who are the epitome and they influence the man's life widely. So here is the beginning point. And men and women are placed with the combination of morality and sacrifice. As I told in this first proposition was that man and woman are part of the nature. They are endowed with the equal potential and they are having equal potential to the part of ahimsa and also having enormous potential to combine morality with the sacrifice for the humanity and sacrifice for the nation. And he also recognized that women would emerge as the leader of the society because of their high moral value and sense of sacrifice that would be guided by ahimsa and satyagraha. So he was also conditioning the woman's behavior, that is in the years to come, the whole behavior, the moral values and the sacrifice that is to be guided by ahimsa, that is non-violence, and also satyagraha, a kind of a peaceful protest. So there is to be ahimsa on the one hand, that is a means, but satyagraha is a kind of a protest. The protest is to be there. That is an action. The action is to be guided by ahimsa. That is non-violence. And here is talked about women at the center of all those activities. Is that they are the epitome. Women are the epitome and the true incarnation of ahimsa. What Mahatma Gandhi talks about. When Mahatma Gandhi talks about ahimsa, he also widely links the whole potential of motherhood of women and how it is linked to the practice of ahimsa. He defines ahimsa in that way. Ahimsa means infinite love, which again means infinite capacity for suffering. So love is not enough. It is also having enormous amount of suffering. So that love and suffering altogether produces a new kind of phenomenon, that is the ahimsa, a kind of a non-violence. And he gives the example, that is how it is painful for a mother to deliver a baby, because she carries a baby for 9 months in her womb, and then with all pain she suffers and delivers the baby, and that is a kind of sacrifice, that is the pain she is undergoing, the suffering she is taking, and the whole labor pain she is undertaking for the joy of a creation. The joy of a creation, that is the birth of a baby in this earth. So what is talking about a meaningful way, how the love and suffering is linked to the whole process of creation of a new soul on this earth, that is a new baby. What he's talking about, let her transfer that love to the whole humanity. That is the creation of the baby is not an end in itself. So the love to be transferred to the whole humanity. Let her forget that she was ever and can be object of man's lust. So it is not, woman is not the symbol. Woman is not a means to satisfy a man's lust. Rather, they are endowed with enormous potential of ahimsa that is founded on love, sacrifice, and a creation of joy. That is important to look into. But what simultaneously Mahatma Gandhi talks about, though woman is endowed all those capacities, that love, the sacrifice, the joy for creation, but simultaneously they are having the potential. That potential is to be recognized. They are having the potential to be the unquestioned leader, and having found the place in human evolution. So there is a bigger role for the humanity, bigger role for the universe, and simultaneously bigger role for the nation and national liberation. So what he is talking about, that all those potential, all those potential only talks about that women are endowed with the equal potential to that of men, and they should not feel a sense of inferiority, because it is the social norms, values and practices, and inculcation of certain norms, values and practices, and traditional role expectation, traditional role stereotyping may have injected, not may have, must have injected an amount of inferiority complex among women. Those are to be done away with. So what is in the forefront according to Mahatma Gandhi? That whole potential of love, sacrifice, and the ability to create something new, and that is to be recognized. And since they have all those potential, along with that, to be a leader, they should not feel, they must not feel to be inferior to menfolk in the society. So then he talks about the women's role in Satyagraha, because women are the true torch bearer of this protest. And that is, if protests are to be there, women are the epitome of ahimsa on the one hand, and they are also the striking force for all kind of protest. And she must come and occupy a pivotal position in the plan of Satyagraha. If there is to be Satyagraha, a truthful protest for the truth, then obviously the women should come forward, because they are endowed with all those potentialities. And he recognizes women because of their whole sacrificing capacity, that is the woman Shakti, that is the Shakti power endowed with women, and they should come in the forefront for the Satyagraha and Ahimsa. So in India's, as you know, in India's non-violent struggle for independence, women had played equal part to that men, and if not, if it is not greater, but they have played equal role to that of menfolk in the non-violent struggle for Indian independence. And women's participation was the deepest inspiration in Mahatma Gandhi's life, because of that righteousness, and at time they are kind of a devotion to the cause of the nation, that was widely accepted by Mahatma Gandhi to be the biggest role the woman can play for emancipation of humanity in this earth, that should begin with self-assertion, commitment to the nation, and also emancipation of the humanity. So it's hard to always earn the suppressed self for humanity. What he's talking about, that there is a suppressed half of humanity. Woman has remained the suppressed half, because that potential has not been realized. That is to be realized. Realized for their capacity to sacrifice, capacity to love, capacity to participate in the non-violent movement, and to be the epitome of ahimsa. So all this endows women with all those enormous potential to be the flag bearer of emancipation of humanity on this earth. That's why Mahatma Gandhi always tried to bring women in the independence movement. He always advocated for women's participation in the independent movement and their equal status in the society, and he passionately desired that the utmost freedom of Indian women. That is, it is not only what is talking about their participation in independent movement. There should also women should get the freedom for that participation. So they should not only, what he is trying to say, that they should not only participate in the independent movement, they should also be liberated to participate in the independent movement in the equal term to that of the male folk. And simultaneously he advocated, you can remember that till 1947, women had no voting power in India. But importantly, India is one of those democratic state in the world that had accepted women's right to vote as early as 1945. So in 1946, when there was election, Indian women participated in the exercise of adult franchising. So women's he was a strong advocate for women's political participations, women's political right, and simultaneously women occupying important political positions. Uh, Now come to some of the social arena, because Mahatma Gandhi talked about there's a need for women's participation in the political life, women's participation in the independence movement, women's participation in the public life. Simultaneously, he has also seen that women are made subordinated in the society, and those subordination are made through certain practices. The marriage, the institution of widowhood, the institution of divorce, they have circumscribed women's position in such a way that they are given the subordinate position in the society. So Mahatma Gandhi has an elaborate view on the idea of marriage. He pointed out that he deplored the criminal indifference of parents who keep their daughters utterly ignorant and illiterate and bring them off only for the purpose of marrying them off to some young man of some means. So what he's talking about, in our society, women or girls are not socialized for participation, or girls are not socialized for full liberation or full expression of their human potential. Rather, they're socialized, they're grown up to arrange their marriage. What he's talking about, this is a kind of one of the criminal indifference of the parent. That is, parents are simply growing up the girl, helping them to grow up, to arrange a suitable match for them with some young man of some means. But Gandhi, as an universalist, as an idealist, what he told that the marriage, what should be the marriage? What is the purpose of marriage? So it is not only a duty of getting married. It is not a parent's duty to arrange some marriage. What he was talking about, they should look into the whole meaning of marriage. What is the meaning of marriage? What he was talking about, marriage is a kind of spiritual union of the two soul. It is not only a physical union of two soul. To meet certain biological requirement, there is certain spiritual requirement, and that requirement is to be fulfilled. That is to be understood by both the partners. But what happened? The Indian traditional parent, they become happy only by arranging the marriage of the daughters. But these other roles are also to be realized before arranging marriage for them. Then he talks about the ideal marriage. Marriage is for universal love. What he talks about, I quote what he talks about: the ideal that marriage aims at that of a spiritual union through the physical. There is to be a physical relationship, but that relationship should bring certain spiritual union of the two souls. The human love that it incarnates is intended to serve as a stepping stone to the divine and the universal love. The wife is not only a husband born slave, but his companion and his helpmate, and an equal partner in all his joys and sorrows, as free as the husband to choose his own path. So what is talking about? Three important things. One is that it is a physical union, not an end in itself. It is a physical union for certain spirituality that will bring them to be in touch with certain divinity, with some universal love. Second, he is talking about, though wife is getting married to a husband, they are getting married, but wife is not a slave to the husband. What is she? She is an equal companion. She is a helpmate and an equal partner with the same kinds of rights and entitlement as that of a husband. So that takes us to the second proposition, that is what has been his position to the divorce and other. I am coming little later. Mahatma Gandhi was against the child marriage. When Mahatma Gandhi was leading the independence movement, he has said that the practice of child marriage was rampant in our society, and he stood against the practice of child marriage in our society. What he talked about, the parents, when the child are born, it is important that child are to be nurtured for the full growth of their human potential, to exercise their choice in the society. But the parents are immediately arranging marriage when their child only, the parents are making there is a breach of trust on the part of the parent, because they are not allowing the children, the girl child, to express their full potential in the society. So what he's talking about now, what is Kanyadan in the case of these little children? Has the father got any right of property over the children? He is the protector and not the owner. What he is talking about, it is not the property of the father. The daughters are not the property of the father. Daughters are also not property of the husband. Father is the protector. So as a protector, he should protect that divine soul to furnish all human potential through education and other kind of cultural endowment. And once the parents are unable to do it, they are breaching the trust on which the daughter and parent relationship are founded on. And when he's talking about this is the abuse of the trust given to the parents. So what he's talking about, child marriage, he's totally against child marriage, and he talks about whatsoever child marriage was there, those are to be declared as null and void, and the minimum age of marriage for the girl should be 20 years. So progressive he was. Now we talk about after 74 years of independence, we know the legal age of marriage for the girl is 18 years. Mahatma Gandhi in 1920s itself, and maybe 1942 or 47, within that period, he widely talked about the age of marriage of the girl. It should be 20 years. He was against the dowry system, because in India, marriage seldom takes place without dowry. Mahatma Gandhi was against the practice of the dowry system. And what he talked about, what is the root cause of this dowry system? He told it is the practice of the caste system. When there is a practice of the caste system, every caste is having its own kind of arrangement, that is Anulama marriage and Pratilama marriage. Within this Anulama marriage, the caste system and the endogamy is practiced, and is caste is compelled to look into the bride within this group, that compels the parents to arrange for the dowry. So he was against it, and he termed it as nothing but the sale of the girls. That is, giving the dowry is equal to sale of the girl. And he had expressed that is, the caste distinction should be abolished. He was against the practice of the caste, and if the caste system remains, to him the dowry system will keep on practicing in the society. Mahatma Gandhi also talked about the remarriage. He widely said that time the practice of huge number of widows in Indian society. Though there were a big number of widowers, but they were in a position to remarry, but widows are not allowed to remarry. So contrary was the rule for the women, the rule for the men. The women are not allowed to marry. It was the men, those who are allowed to marry. He told that it is a disgrace for the society, that system should be abolished. There should be all arrangement for widow remarriage in the society. He also simultaneously talked about the choice of mates and social interference. Because why Mahatma Gandhi was talking about, when talking about his view on women, why he was addressing the whole issue of marriage, divorce, remarriage and the mate selection, because he was trying to know that it is through this arrangement, through these institutional practices, women's lives are circumscribed and women are made victims of subordinate position in the society, subordinate to that of man. So he was talking about abolition of child marriage, in favor of, he was talking about the widow remarriage, and also talking about the choice of the mates. It is to be done by the partners themselves. It is not to be a choice imposed on them by the society, because choice is imposed on the partners within the caste system, within the religious system. So what he was talking about, that is, if the practice of widow marriage is to be there, if the practice of child marriage to be abolished, dowry to be abolished, the choice of mates should be there without much of social interference. That is a strong view he was taking at that point of time. Mahatma Gandhi was also in favor of the inter-religious marriages, because if the mates are to be selected by the partners themselves, the whole space of inter-religious marriage should be encouraged. And he also talked about the more of a civil marriages. He talked about that man and woman profession having the different religion profession. Even man and woman may be coming from different religious group. They're getting married. But what he's talking about, even after getting married, each religious group should practice their own religion in a very complementary way, not in a contradictory way. So what was his view? His view was that there should be interreligious marriage, but interreligious marriage should not be for the sake of rejecting each other's religion, but they keep their religious faith intact and practice that, even getting married with the partners of other religious belief. He accepted marriage as a sacrament, as a kind of a divine activities that is founded on ahimsa, and he talked about there is a four function of marriage that is to be accepted, because marriage is not for the physical reunion. As I told, marriage is meant for a spiritual reunion of the two souls. He considered man and woman to be the to divine soul, and they are getting married to perform certain function. What he's talking about, four function he pointed out. There should be spiritual development, number one, and they should, second, in their activities should be, they should make certain service for the society. Number three, they should make service for the community. And fourth is that there should be mutual attraction of love, and that is the place be founded on the marriage. So marriage is for a particular purpose. Purpose is that it is a spiritual development and to be given the first priority. Second is the service for the society and the humanity. Third is that it should serve for the family interest. And third is that there should be mutual attraction and love for each other, and that should be reflected for the love for the humanity. So he is also putting the marriage in a very universalistic, in a very philosophical way. What he talks about marriage and love relationship, he talks about that love alone, where there are other three components are not fulfilled, should not be held as a valid reason for the marriage, because it is for the love, for the sake of love is not enough for the marriage, because marriage should be founded on spirituality, number one, service for the humanity, and also service for the family. These three things are to be fulfilled, only then it will be founded on love, as he widely talked about. He's talking about also, he was given a force for, given his opinion for the divorce. His position is that when a relationship is not founded on truth, and if there is a choice and there is some alternative, that may be exercised. So marriage confirms the right of the union between the two partners to the exclusion of all others when their joint opinion they consider the union is to be desirable. So marriage continues as long as that union is desirable. When this union is not desirable, he prefers that if there is an alternative that may be exercised. He also talked about, as I told, about the child widow and then the widow remarriage. He widely propagated the widow remarriage in our society, because in Hinduism the widow remarriage was not practiced. You may be knowing that it is Ram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they widely propagated the whole idea of widow remarriage. Mahatma Gandhi at a later, once he came back to India from South Africa, he widely talked about, he gave his voice for the whole cause of widow remarriage. What he was trying through this, all those arrangements, he was trying to redefine the institution of marriage, widowhood, divorce, dowry, etc. like this, so that there is no subordinate position of women in the society. Mahatma Gandhi was also against the practice of parda, because what he was talking about, through this practice, the internal self of women and the whole possibilities of their self-development and self-expression is squashed. So it has resisted not only the participation in public life, but has also deprived them of the opportunity for self-development, self-expression, social, economic and political well-being. So he was totally against the practice of parda, because it was bringing the element of subordination for women in the society. So ultimately what Mahatma Gandhi was talking about, his position of women in Indian society, his position is that number one, women are given a subordinate position in the society within certain institutional arrangement, and those institutional arrangement are the family, the marriage, precisely the marriage, the widowhood, and the child marriage. So he was trying to define that. He also simultaneously accepted the fact that women are having enormous potential to practice ahimsa and also participate in the protest. By bringing it, he considered women are the epitomes of empowerment. That is, women are the weakest segment of the society. That's why in his own word, Mahatma Gandhi writes, women whom we call abala, that is the weak. Usually women are called the abala, and what he writes, women whom we call abala once become shabala, empowered, all those powerless become empowered in the society. So what he's talking about, it is empowering the woman, means the empowering the society. Then he talked about, to call them abala is to condemn them in the society. So we deny, when you call women abala, it is a culturally codified term. To call the woman abala, designate woman the abala, means we are denying their strength, we are denying the capacity, the woman's capacity, de-recognize the potential of woman's strength in the society. So one is talking about if women resolve to bring glory to the nation within few months, they can totally change the whole fate of the earth and the country. That's why Mahatma Gandhi, when he considered women are to be the epitome of empowerment, epitome of satyagraha, and epitomes of peaceful resistance, he wants to bring women in the forefront of independent struggle, forefront of emancipation of a human being on this earth. So in Mahatma Gandhi firmly opined that Indian salvation depends on the sacrifice and enlightenment of women. So what is important to understand Mahatma Gandhi's position of women is that Mahatma Gandhi tried to break the varieties of the barriers those were created to keep the women subordinated in the society. By bringing that, he became critical to the practice of widowhood, the child marriage, varieties of the practices within the caste order. So he was trying to break all those barriers so that women can get a space for their autonomy and independence within the Indian society, and they can be the epitome of empowerment in the society. So now let us recap whatsoever we have discussed. First we have discussed that Mahatma Gandhi was widely influenced with the life and lifestyle of his mother and his wife. Then we discussed how women have got a subordinated position in the society within the cultural practices, values and norms. And number 3, we talked about the identification of varieties of the potential which women have that Mahatma Gandhi identified, that is their practice of ahimsa, satyagraha, all potential, and they identified women are the epitome of love and sacrifice and creation. Simultaneously, women are the epitomes of empowerment, and they are the potential force for national liberation and emancipation of humanity on this earth. Thank you very much for being with us.